Born to Muslim parents, Otunba Balogun converted to Christianity while in secondary school. He graduated from Igbobi College and studied law at the London School of Economics. Before leaving for Europe, he briefly worked as a teacher. As a student in London, Otunba Balogun regularly attended fellowships and had the opportunity to meet some notable Nigerians such as Doyen before the latter was president. After earning his law degree, he returned to Nigeria to join the Ministry of Justice, Western Region. From the Regional Ministry of Justice, where he was a Crown Counsel, Otunba Balogun found a new post as a Parliamentary Counsel in the Federal Ministry of Justice. After the January 1966 coup, he joined the Nigerian Industrial Development Bank, NIDB. At NIDB, his interest in investment banking led him to advocate for the establishment of a merchant bank sponsored by NIDB. When Icon Securities, a merchant banking outfit, was established in 1973 as a subsidiary of NIDB, Otunba Balogun moved to Icon Limited as a Director of Operations. When Otunba Balogun's ambition to head Icon was not realized, he left the firm to found City Securities, a stockbroking and issuing house. City Securities developed relationships with Mobil, Texaco and Total Petroleum Marketing Companies, handling the company's equity offerings. In 1979, he applied for a merchant banking license to establish the first city merchant bank. Otunba Balogun was inspired by the entrepreneurial works of Sigmund Warburg, who co-founded S.G. Warburg. He visited Warburg in London prior to establishing his merchant bank. When the operations of the bank took effect in 1983, Otunba Balogun established an entrepreneurial culture at the new bank, unique as an owner-managed bank in contrast to the government-owned banks at the time. Otunba Balogun built a national pediatric center in Ijebu that he donated to the University College Teaching Hospital, UCH. All those who are familiar with the trajectory of merchant and commercial banking in Nigeria, especially from the point of view of indigenous participation, know that without any doubt at all, the name of Otunba Balogun looms very large in Nigeria's banking and financial sector as a pace-setter and an uncommon trailblazer who has in the last over 50 years helped to groom and nurture a very large number of professionals who are now at the commanding heights of their careers in the banking and financial sector today. In fact, the banking and financial sector is very dear to Otunba Balogun. Although a lawyer, he has recorded exceeding strides in the banking and financial sector, as exemplified in the phenomenal success story of the First City Monument Bank, FCMB. The First City Monument Bank, FCMB's foundation, is predicated on the culture of excellence, which resonates with Otunba Balogun's approach to life in all his dealings. As the Grand Doyen pathfinder of modern banking in Nigeria hits the 85-year milestone, BOS and Biscan TV crew, led by its chief correspondent Prince Besialatilo, the chairman and CEO of Biscan Communications, were at the FCMB Plaza, Marina, Lagos, for a special interview with him. The interview session with Otunba Balogun was very enriching, with useful, life-changing lessons about life in general, and some tips on how he built FCMB from scratch to the very zenith of banking.
The young fledgling companies, City Securities, succeeded in obtaining a merchant banking license, and there was a condition attached to it that we should look for a foreign technical partner, an international institution, to assist us in the running of the bank. Some other international banks in Nigeria had come in to set up institutions like that. Ours was the first to be set up single-handedly by a Nigerian who in fact was a lawyer before he got involved in banking. We went round the whole world. I would say UK, Europe, and New York. Many international institutions were not keen to come to Nigeria because of the military regime and the general atmosphere in Nigeria. After 1 year, we decided to go back to the central bank to convince them that they should give us a concession whereby we can go and employ foreign bankers and bring them to perform what the technical partners would have done for us. Luckily, Central Bank agreed. And one of the first names that came to my mind is this young man who had since become my very close friends. So I asked Jonathan, would you want to come and work in Nigeria? He hesitated initially. He was only just about 31. He wasn't married. And he said he would be thinking of it. In the meantime, when we didn't get a reply from him, there was another expatriate who was already the managing director of a merchant bank set up in Nigeria by First Chicago Bank of the US, a Mr. Martin White, an English person, who got to know of my problem looking for a technical partner. And I've also heard that Central Bank has given us a concession that if you can get a senior banker.
So that's your request.
That's it. So he said he was ready. He had been managing director in Nigeria for over 4 years of what was called then International Merchant Bank, IMB. They were along Awolowo Road. I jumped at it, and I thought we've had everything all sealed and done. Then about 4 days later, a few days later, Jonathan rang me and said, Mike, I think I will give it a try. I would come.
From thinking about it?
Yeah, I will give it a try. I will be working with a friend who had been so good to me. So I was a bit initially confused, thinking of the loyalty he had shown to me since we became friends. When we were asked to look for foreign partners, he and some colleagues of mine, Mr. Jadesimi, who is now the chairman of the group, and another friend who was in Central Bank, were all scouting all over Europe and US, and they did not succeed. So I said, I cannot let this young man down. For his good services and support, I will take him. So my wife and I invited Jonathan and Martin White for a dinner in London, where we settled that Martin White, being a senior banker about my age at that time, should be the managing director, chief operating officer, and that Jonathan should be executive director of corporate finance, his own then specialized area, and that I will still remain executive chairman and chief executive. So we had this this troika, yeah. So the three of us agreed, and we did what was necessary, and they moved to Nigeria. I'm a man of the culture of excellence. I say so much of it. If I see any good in someone, whoever it is, it doesn't need to be my relation, I will give him the opportunity. So people in the market saw me, maybe some people said a colossus or anything, but they always knew that I always have somebody by my side, Jonathan Long. So when he fell ill, the FCMB group was fully involved. And he was away for nearly 2 years on sick leave. I hesitated to cut the umbilical cord, hoping that he would still be well and come back to his job. But when we had 1 or 2 annual general meetings and he couldn't show up, he himself decided that he would rather retire. And that was after 40 years of service. That is not a usual thing. I think it's a gift of God. When you have to work with me, I take you like a relation. In fact, some people used to say I should limit myself to the directors and the senior staff. In those days, I would leave my room and be going around the institution, going around the different offices, asking staff, how are you doing? I know a few of the heads of department resent my being close to people, but that is my nature. It's a gift of God. I take personal interest in my staff. Let me give you an instance. A particular staff started as a security guard in my house. One day he spoke to me that he had good school certificate. He shouldn't just be a security person. You know what I did? I encouraged him, and he went to a university and had a BSc economics in Ogun State University. He is now with me, a very senior staff, and is the head of the management of my estate in Ijebu-Ode. There are so many people I knew. Maybe, for instance, Mr. Shebore, or Otunba Shebore. He was an accountant in Coopers and Lybrand, and they were doing work for us. He was so impressed by my approach, he recommended me for the capital issues of Mobile Oil. No, Adokpai, a former classmate of mine, gave me Mobile Oil. Shebore gave me Texaco and Total. At that time, there were 4 major oil marketing companies, and I got 3 of them because of my personal relationship. Although they didn't just say do it, I went for interviews with the boards. In the case of Mobile and Texaco, I actually went to New York.
Went through the
due diligence and other things. Then they met me. In Leventis, a former chairman, a Chief HSA Adedeji, was a civil servant with me in Ibadan. And later on, Leventis brought him on their board. He was the one who told Leventis that if my bosses, who were competing for me, with me for their mandate, won't allow the 2 of us to do it together, we should both be invited and interviewed. And ultimately, I got the mandate. That was Coca-Cola. One of the major ones in those days, there was something they called indigenization program, where I had 2 competitors, international banks. They were amazed that I captured most of the mandates. The advice I will give is that any Nigerian employer should endear himself to any expatriate employee. You must learn to make them your personal friend, not your employee. You must see to their comfort, and you must also see to their welfare. Also being associated with what will happen to them when they retire. I think these were the few exceptional things that I did. I didn't just employ expatriates to use services alone here and do things. I get involved in their personal future, their career. I won't mention names. One or two of my staff asked if they could buy apartments in London when they retire. I won't mention names. I offered to do it for them, and they retired into it. You don't just think of employing somebody, either you quarrel or just send away without thinking of what will happen to him. This has got to be, it's something that I believe is personal in me. I do as much as that to Nigerians, and I've also done it to many expatriates. You can't believe it. I'll tell you another one. An expatriate executive director was working here, and he tried to be earning some salary from another place. Instead of disgracing him, all we just say is that he should retire, and we escorted him through the customs and put him in the plane. I didn't ask the police that.
Instead of making trouble with it.
No, I didn't. And quite a number of these expatriate staff mentioned it. I tend to put myself in their place. You are leaving your home to come and work in a foreign country. I'm sorry, I'm not preaching Christianity here. I take care of my neighbor, and that my neighbor doesn't need to be physically my neighbor. Someone who left everything and came to serve you. Secondly, I've never treated any staff, foreign staff, as subordinates. I try to make them my friend. I don't know how I got to be doing this. It's a gift of God. When I talk of cultural excellence, I'm looking for the best in you. To get the best in anybody, you must endear yourself to them.